Well, hello there, and welcome back to Theocracy Watch, my fellow skeptics, where we keep a watchful eye on religious extremism creeping into public policies. Today is Monday, and the Supreme Court is preparing to hear a case that could roll back LGBTQIA protections in Colorado, challenging the state's ban on harmful conversion therapy. I feel like we've all heard of conversion therapy before. So, in case you haven't, though, let me just tell you what it is. Conversion therapy is a widely discredited and a harmful practice that uses psychological manipulation, religious coercion, and emotional abuse to force minors to deny or suppress their sexual identity. Think of Pray the Gay Away packaged as counseling. Colorado had only banned conversion therapy back in 2019, but now Kaylee Childs, a licensed Christian therapist who condones conversion therapy, argues that the ban violates therapists' freedom of speech. How ironic that Christians are casting their nets wide across public policy, decrying victim while simultaneously behaving abusively. Christian nationalists scream free speech so therapists can harm children psychologically, yet on the other hand, deny trans youth and their parents their freedom to access gender-affirming care or their freedom to speak about LGBTQIA issues or just be the person they are. So apparently when it comes to parental rights, it only matters when a parent is conservative and has Christian standards, which is, biased and offers no consistency.
Right.
Conversion therapy isn't therapy, it's trauma that has been proven ineffective and damaging, and it also increases rates of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation among youth. And you can't say that you protect children while you're pushing these harmful practices that have been equated to psychological warfare.
Right.
Colorado's ban was a critical step toward protecting vulnerable children from a practice condemned as psychological abuse, and now to see this therapy on the rise in states like Colorado is alarming. If the decision is overturned, the floodgates could open. States could be emboldened by this decision and could follow suit, repealing similar protections and rebranding trauma as treatment. Vulnerable children could again be subjected to harmful ideology masked as care because a therapist's right to impose religion would matter more than a child's right to expression and to survive. If Christian conservatives truly cared about protecting children, they'd listen to science and end this abusive practice nationwide. How embarrassing this is even a conversation held under the guise of freedom. So make sure you get involved.
I'm sorry, they've proven over and over and over again that they don't care about children. And over, this same group of people, whether it's about guns, about vaccines, about education, they've proven handily several times.
They claim, but the actions prove differently. So that's why we have to get involved, we have to get loud, and please do not forget to stay curious.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Let me ask, because I don't have any kids in school at this time or any of that. But have either of you, maybe Durante, you've got a lot of kids. Have you had any kind of religious enforcement on your kids in their schools? You're down in Alabama, so.
Well, my kids are a little different, so no, not as yet.
Just ignore it.
Yeah, they really do. They've been like that since they were younger. I have two that go to school from home and two that actually go to private school. And the private school that two of them go to is a religious school, but they don't mess with my boys because they're pretty vocal about where they stand. And for the most part, it's a non-battle because the majority of the other students are believers, and so it's easier for them just not to participate, and it's not that big of a deal because they're such a minority. So when everybody else is doing the moment of prayer or whatever, and they just don't, then nobody really says anything because they're the minority. And that's not even just in the private schools; that's in many of the public schools in this county.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Muttley Von Erich says, at the Damn Network, a lot of kids, you make it sound like Durante lives in a shoe. Right. Hey, man, it's not my fault he ain't got no TV.
Man, oh, man.
How many, you got 4, right? Not
Yep,
1 or 2 or 3, but 4
2
children.
girls.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a handful.
Quite a legacy you've got there. How many
Yes.
youngins do you have, Ryan?
3.
You're
3
Three.
and 1 addition. I got a special edition child. A
There
stuffed
you
child.
go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Paid extra for those. That's I have 1 adopted and 1 and the daughter, the girl, which I've just the evil ones spawn. So,
Oh, man.
And then dogs. I got more dogs than I got anything. Jesse Bear says, my kids are in public school and we haven't had that issue, but I know other districts near us have had issues with fights to push creation in science classes. So I was I was kind of curious about
Now
how.
Well, see, like that's the thing. Like every science teacher I had was a Christian growing up, and we're not shy about it, and would talk against evolution in class and stuff. And so Christianity is so normalized in many of the Alabama schools that when Christianity is being prioritized in preference, nobody knows or nobody feels it because the majority of people there operate as believers and just assumes that everybody else is believers, therefore it must be okay. Because it happens a lot, but there's no fight because the majority of them believe that way.
Right.
And
I don't know if you know this or not, but I host a daily atheist morning show here on YouTube. I have a couple of other co-hosts with me, Durante Lamar and Ryan Koltastic, and we have a lot of fun. When we first started hanging out, he would say, he'd say something like, yeah, we're kind of like Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder,
yeah.
yes.
I was like, you're right. You make the perfect Gene Wilder to my Richard Pryor. and I just didn't know if I didn't know if he was getting it or not. Every time we would do something like that, I was like, man, me and you're like chess pieces. We're like, I'm the black pieces and you're the white pieces. And everybody would just ignore it and move on. I'm like, come on, people, I'm working here. I'm working. Live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Christians, Jesus was not sacrificed for your sins. Click over here to see my top 10 video on why Jesus was not sacrificed for your sins. Oh, and let's support my co-host from The Damn Show. Click down here to check out my buddy Durante's latest top 10 video, and click over here, down here, to see Ryan Koltastic's latest video. Sin safely, my friends. Take care.